Good evening and welcome to this live. I think we are live. So we have Juanita on this live with us. Juanita, how's it going?
Good, and you, Quinton?
All good, thanks. So tonight I chose a topic. It's quite a different topic to the norm of mindset stuff, and that, although it's actually influences, and we'll get into it, is a mastermind, or more commonly known, the people that you hang around the most with, that influence your outcomes and or influence your results as well, and rub off on you, if you will. So yeah, so it actually comes from, you maybe, do you want to maybe kick off and tell us what a mastermind is? I know you've got the info because you shared it with me just now. So do you want to share where the concept of mastermind actually comes from?
Okay,
Yeah.
So let me just find it here quickly. So what was interesting for me is, of course, when you chose the topic, I was like, okay, mastermind. Okay, I think I know what mastermind is. And then, of course, when you start looking for it, I'm like, okay, it's not quite what I thought it was. And so,
Okay.
so it was really for me, it was really a nice topic, actually, because it wasn't so obvious. But so effectively, a mastermind is a group of people that you join. Okay, so a mastermind group is a peer-to-peer mentoring group used to help members solve their problems with input and advice from other group members. The concept was coined in 1925 by Napoleon Hill, and in his book, The Law of Success, and described in more detail in his 1937 book, Think and Grow Rich. So, of course, what I went and did is I went and dug the book from my shelf, and I went and found that particular chapter and read what that's about. But I really found some interesting information. So really, effectively, it's about one plugging into a group of people who've got different expertise levels, different knowledge to you, and not necessarily on the same topic, but have a similar kind of mindset, who wanting to plug into people and be able to take advantage of the knowledge that person has, the fact that you can consult and talk to people about really just bounce off ideas. So it's really very much focused on entrepreneurs, so people who tend to work by themselves. So it's really about having the opportunity to have a group of people that you can plug into, so that you can benefit from their knowledge, you share knowledge, and you actually belong to this group. And the groups, so I started looking around. So there are actually a variety of groups in South Africa, which is really, really interesting. And they all, depends on what it is that you're interested in. So the different kinds of groups that you can plug into and benefit from. So it just made me think about our mastermind group, Quinton, because that's really what that is. We're a group of people who've got similar kind of mindset and belief in the importance of mindset and your thought process, and how we need to develop that and that kind of thing. So that's really what that is about you having access to a group of people who are experts in their field. And the important thing is that you don't necessarily want to be the expert of the group, because really the objective of a mastermind group is for you to be able to benefit and learn from those people. And so, of course, if you're the person who knows it all, then you're not really benefiting from it. So it really, it has to be a give and take. So everybody, of course, has to benefit from it. Otherwise, nobody's going to take advantage of it. But that's really what it's about. It's not about you blowing your own trumpet and building your ego. It's about you realizing that there are times that you need to be able to plug into somebody else, because someone else knows something that you don't know. And by being part of a mastermind group, you then have the opportunity to be able to plug into the knowledge that those people have. And it took those people years to gain that knowledge. And because you then have access to that person, it means that you can fast track your ability to learn and really learn from their mistakes much faster. And so for me, that that was really really interesting. And the thing is, I think we all do that in some form of fashion. But as I say, I think it's really entrepreneurs would plug into that, because if you think about a business, that's what I do all the time, is that I have the opportunity to be able to engage with people within that business at various levels.
Yes.
From down from CEO to anyone else in another team, and each person can add value to things. And if I'm not sure of something, I would go and bounce ideas off people and have discussions with various people within the business, to be able to go and develop and understand things and just get my own mind around it. So I think
Yes.
within the corporate environment, those things happen without us even realizing that that's what we're doing, is that we actually have a mastermind group within the business that we can plug into. But if you're an entrepreneur and you're really working by yourself, like you do, for example, it's really important for you to have a group of people that you can go to and engage with, in order for you to
Plugged
be able
into.
to go and, yes, for you to go and develop your concepts and ideas and be able to bounce your ideas off people.
Yes.
That adds massive value for you, because sometimes you'll be thinking about something and you're not quite sure whether that is something that could fly, and then it's just really nice to have somebody else's input around that and to hear what it is that they think.
Yeah. So a lot of people may, so the reason why I chose the topic, I've read the Think and Grow Rich quite a few times, and it's probably one of the earlier self-development books actually that was really popularized, and became very popular, very business orientated. However, the concept and ideas are applicable to mindset and all of those things. But the important thing is that a mastermind, from that specific, the way Napoleon Hill designed or spoke about it, there was in a very specific. From there, obviously, there's been hundreds of variations, and really, a mastermind can be. We may even have that very loosely, in the sense of when you need to know about XY fishing, you got a fishing buddy that you can phone. If you need to know about golf, you got a golfing buddy, whatever the case may be. And that's similar in business. You might have you need to know about accounting. You're not going to phone your buddy that's an IT guy and ask him accounting stuff. He's probably going to go, I don't know, I've got an accountant for that shit. So you probably have it very loosely. I think what you need to just, when you have it loosely, you may not realize, you need to just think carefully about who's in your mastermind, because you could have the wrong people in your mastermind without realizing it, and that can be detrimental. And it's not always the people that you know the best. It could be, you could approach somebody, explain to them a little bit and nicely. Don't just phone them randomly and say, listen, I could think that you explain it. But most times people will give some of their time and say, yeah, sure, if you need help with something or whatever. And you can build a mastermind out of different people strategically and do it with intention. But there's other masterminds also, for instance, like our Shift membership group. That is a form of mastermind, because you're plugged in there. If you've got the confidence, you can put a thing in and say, guys, I've got an issue with this. How do you guys think about this? And people have a natural instinct to help other people. It's just one of those things. So there you've got a mastermind in a sense, and that's what we're really trying to do there, is build a community. That's why I've always said it's not about me trying to, it's not like I know everything. I'm trying to just teach people. It's about everybody contributing. Please contribute in there, because I need to learn from you as well. It's a reciprocal thing. It's not just a one-way street. But yeah, the mastermind can be very powerful if you've got the right. I think I posted about it last week, because there was a few things going on, and I actually had a conversation with you. And because of that conversation, my mind got put back right on track. Now, if you don't have the right person, you find that person, they're like, yeah, no, it's tough, everything, whatever. You're making it worse. That is part of your close group. That person is part of your close group. It can make it worse for you. So you got to just think carefully about who you phone when you need things and stuff. It's quite interesting. You may have to remove one or two people, because you may realize very quickly that it might not be beneficial to you. So it's, yeah.
So it's interesting that you say that, because just in reading, this is one of the things that they talk about, is obviously the the habits that you then develop, but obviously how you feed off one another's energy.
Yes.
And so if you're plugging into people who are negative about stuff and naysayers and,
Rubs
oh, you
off
know,
on you.
Quinton, that can never work. Why the hell did you know, what happens is that kind of person puts doubt in your mind as to what it is that you're doing. And so therefore you're wanting to plug into people who've got similar mindset, similar way of approaching stuff, that's positive about stuff that will that you can be able to get positive energy from them, and not go and say to you, well, what the hell did you think? You know, and sometimes you do need somebody to be honest with you as well and say, you know what, bud, I like what you're doing here, but I don't like what you're doing there. You do need that too.
Yes.
But it's about how that comes about and whether that's constructive, because that's really what it is. And in the mastermind group, you will constructively be guided and helped, and not pulled into a negative cesspit of complaining and moaning and, oh, it's never gonna happen. So that is one of the advantages of being part of a mastermind, is that you get that positive energy that you're actually tapping into with people who form part of that, because they like-minded, similar approach to you, and that's why. And like you say, sometimes we need to go and say, well, you know what, that person that doesn't add value to me in my life. And so sometimes we need to be very ruthless, and we've got to cut people out of our life because they're not adding the value that you need in your life. And so who's it that says, you know, you're the sum of the 5 people that you surround yourself with?
Yeah, I was just thinking now. So I think Tony Robbins speaks a lot about that, but Les Brown is another one. He often talks about the closest people and that, what a big difference, and how he went through the process of actually cutting people and literally telling them, listen, you're costing me my success. That's what it boils down to. Literally can make the difference between success and failure. There's something I wanted to say now, which you were saying now. Anyway, yeah. So Les Brown talks about that quite often, about cutting people and stuff like that. But that's what I wanted to say. I don't know if it was Grant Cardone, one of those also, that mentions, because here's your next thing. So now you come to the realization, you're like, okay, maybe I've got a few people but I don't know a successful businessman. I don't know somebody that's whatever. So now what do I do? You know what I mean? You can't just randomly go to people on the street and say, hey, you have to build a rapport with them, and before they'll help you. They're not just going to help a total stranger. So what I think it was Grant Cardone, what he said is that, yeah, I'm sure, because he calls himself Uncle G. And Grant Cardone said, you've got no excuse, because what you can do is you can create your own mastermind or direct influence with people that you don't know. And that can be a Les Brown, a Grant Cardone. So every day, instead of phoning your buddy and complaining, whatever, put on an audio book and plug into that. And that is a form of, obviously you can't speak to them and bounce ideas off them, but that's a starting point. So you can still surround yourself with the right people. They don't have to be people you actually know or that. And that was quite a big thing for me, because that was a few years ago already. I was like, okay, cool. So that's, because quite often, if you don't have a mastermind, you typically find yourself that you're not surrounded with the right people, and then you don't know those people. So you can't just go and have a mastermind or start. So it's a process then that you have to go through and stuff like that.
But you know, exactly what you're saying is that we have opportunity to be able to plug into mastermind, you know, and that's the amazing thing now. You know, when Napoleon Hill wrote his book, he didn't have that. You know, he physically plugged into people. Now we can plug into people by just going onto YouTube and Facebook, all of those kinds of things.
All of those things.
But again, you know, if you think about our shift mastermind group or shift mindset group, Quinton, is that people can plug into that, and you don't need to know anyone on the group. But the benefit that you're getting is that you're now plugging into people that you first of all don't know, but they like-minded. And you can then start chatting to those people, engaging with them, and building a network, because that's what mastermind is about as well. It's about building a network of people that you may not originally have known, but through that process, you're actually being exposed to people that you never would have met otherwise.
Yes.
And that adds value to you as well, because now what happens is that you start surrounding yourself with different kind of people, and not just the same people who are not adding value to your life. So there is a way that you can actually get involved in groups, you know. So what is it
Yes.
that they say? They've find your tribe, you know. So what is it? So what is it that you're wanting to achieve? You know, one of the first things is to realize around a process like this is that your mindset is really key. And so you've got to start working on that. So you then want to start plugging into groups and into people who believe the same things, who also believe that the development of your mindset is where everything starts for you. And so if you
Yes.
can, that's the first step. And if you can plug into that, you know, that then leads you into the next thing and into the next thing, and other doors then start getting are open for
Yeah.
you, because you're building that network, and that's
Yeah.
what it's about. You know, networks are really, really important. You know, when we in business, you know, we build a network of people all the time, and that's why they say, you know, you don't want to burn your bridges. You need to be able to build and foster relationships all the time. And the relationship may not be a friendship where we're buying around the fire every
Yeah.
weekend. It could literally be, you know what, can we go and have a coffee? I'd like to bounce an idea off you, where you're networking and engaging with that person from a on a business level, and not necessarily on a
Yes.
social level. That could eventually end up like that, but different. You've got different relationships that you're building with people when you network and build a network. So for successful people, networks are really important. They really have made it an art of networking with people and remaining in touch with those people, and they've developed a system and a way where they're engaging with those people all the time. I'm trying to remember the chap who, when we went to Vegas in 2019, I can't remember his name now, but anyway,
Tony
he
Robbins, isn't it?
no, not that wasn't Tony Robbins. I can't remember his name now, but basically every person whose number he has. So he says when he gets into a taxi, he makes an effort of engaging with that person and getting to know who that person is, where you're from, do you have kids, you know, so because he says, you know, when you do that, you never know who's going to come across your path and at what stage you're actually going to meet. And so what he does is when he puts somebody's number in his phone, he makes an effort of remaining in touch with that person. And he may not talk to that person every day, but he'll reach out to his whole contact base at every single year. You know,
I know who you're talking of, but I don't know the name. I know
yeah,
exactly who you're
unfortunately,
talking of. Yeah.
can't. And I mean, it was really, really interesting. I mean, he's got like thousands of numbers in his contact base. But he says, you know, whether it's through a WhatsApp, he says it. You know, of course, technology has made it so much easier for him to remain in touch with those people. But
Yes.
he believes that it's really important for us to continue building a network. And um, he gave an example actually of where he went overseas or something, and on a prior occasion he'd actually met this guy who drove the taxi and whatever, and he then needed somebody to urgently take him somewhere, and he had this guy's number on his phone, and he phoned him. He said, listen, I've got this problem, are you able to help me, point me in the right direction? You know, and that was a taxi driver in, I don't even remember what city it was, you know. And so he says you just don't know how that person is going to add value in your life at some other stage. So every person that you meet and that comes across your path can add value to you in some form or fashion. But it's about connecting with that person and staying in touch with that person, and not just, oh, well, you know what, can you remember 2 years ago you drove because he remained in touch with that guy, he built a rapport and a relationship with him.
Yes.
And so therefore he was able to reach out to that guy because the guy knew who he was and he was happy to help him. And that's really what Mastermind is about. But what he's done is he's building a mastermind around how he's networking with people.
Yes.
And he can then plug into people when he needs to, you know. So for me that was really, and he's already in his 80s. He's
I know exactly
his
who you're
mind is
talking
just
about, but yeah, because because Grant Cardone also often talks about his network. He doesn't, I don't think he calls it a network, but he basically also says, the strength is in relationships. You can drop me off anywhere in the world, and I'll probably know somebody in the close city or town or whatever, and I'll be able to get help, and I'll be able to have a place to stay, and I'll be able to think. So I'm never in the point where I'll ever have a situation where I don't have a place to stay or something like that, because I pretty much know at least one person almost anywhere in the world. And it's the same thing. But you find that quite often is guys that are successful are good networkers. They often do it without realizing they do it, but they naturally just, they naturally do it. Some of us have to work at it and actually make an effort. For other guys, it happens naturally, but it's a skill, again, that was built somewhere along the line that you may not have had. But certainly the technology side of things has made it 100 times easier. You got no excuse. Even I think when Grant Cardone, that podcast or whatever, that was probably pre-Facebook, or might have not been a podcast, might have been an audio book, might have been even pre-Facebook stage. So with the Facebook groups, if you're interested in entrepreneurship, you can go and search entrepreneurship, go find those groups, go and plug in there, and it's free. However, what I want to say with that though is always remember the golden rule is, if you want to receive, give first. So if you're going to go into that group, go and like somebody else's stuff, go and think or whatever. That's how it works. And when you post stuff, they will then comment and help you. But don't just go in there and start asking stuff and nobody responds, and then you want to know why. Well, you've not made any effort. Just so that, I'm just putting that out there, because I know it's quite an important thing.
And that's that's one of the benefits that they're saying, is that when you form part of a master group, is that you need to give of yourself, because what you're doing now is you're now building rapport with those people, and through that process they realize, well, you're prepared to give, so therefore they're prepared to give. So it is very, very definitely a give and take. You can't just be taking and not be giving. And so therefore you've got exactly what you're saying, is you've got to be giving first in order for you to build the rapport and the trust with that group, and therefore they will then start sharing and contributing to you. So it is absolutely really important. I found an article that actually talks about the 12 key benefits of participating in a mastermind. So they say, you'll share challenges and success. Share, right? So it's exactly what we're talking about now. You'll get instant high value feedback. So you're engaging with somebody, getting feedback immediately. And we were talking about the conversation you and I had, so you getting feedback through bouncing something off me.
Yes.
And, so if you foster those relationships, you're able to then pick up the phone and have those conversations with people that can add value and contribute to you. And then they say you'll get new ideas and insights. So again, about what we're talking, you'll get help making timely decisions. So in other words, so if you're stuck with something and you need to make a decision on something and you need to bounce it off someone, you have a group of people that you're plugged into that can help you with that. You'll collaborate and synergize. You'll improve business by thinking bigger, because what happens is because those people have got expertise in other areas, they obviously push the boundaries for you of your expertise and your knowledge. So you may not know, but what happens is that through them sharing their knowledge and understanding the stuff, they're getting you to think bigger and different. So therefore you are growing as well. They say is it's when you feel uncomfortable when you're growing. And so by being surrounded by people who have a knowledge in areas that you're not an expert in, it does make you feel uncomfortable, but you are growing through the process because you're then learning from them. And then obviously if you're in business, then it helps you be ahead of competitors. You can create new opportunities by growing your network, and we just spoke about that. Achieve goals and solve problems in your business. You accelerate growth through accountability, and then you supercharge your energy. And we spoke about that earlier on around you surrounding you with people, yourself with people who've got a positive energy and not negatively influencing your thought processes. And then you're developing winning habits through that process. So that was quite interesting. I'll actually
was accountability on there?
So not in the 12, but it forms part of these particular ones. I'll actually share the
Because
article with you.
that's another important thing. It's the same as the life coaching and that life coaching and it was that biokineticist William Ainsley that actually pointed it out. He said the fact why a coach and that works is 80% of it's just accountability.
Yes.
I mean, if you think about it, a personal trainer, once they've shown you how to do certain exercises, I'm not taking anything away from them, but once certain exercises, you probably know what to do. But what's beneficial of having them around is the accountability perspective and stuff. That's why a top soccer team doesn't drop their coaches when they hit when they're first in the league. Okay, we don't need coaches anymore because we know what you're doing now. It doesn't work like that. But accountability is another big one for a mastermind. They can also hold you accountable, and it's not like
they do, and they do talk about that. Yeah. They're not checking up on you, but they do hold you accountable. They
will ask. You mentioned you were going to do that. Did you do it? No.
Yes.
I watched Netflix this weekend. I didn't.
Exactly right.
I didn't write my life story book I wanted to.
Yeah, absolutely. And as I say, if you're working with a life coach, but as you say, if you look at top sportsmen, okay, they have a coach that coaches them. It's not like when they're at the top of their game, now saying, I'm a coach, I don't need you anymore. They do need that coach, and so it is important for us to remain plugged into people and network and get other people that we can, so maybe, so if you take some of the top golfers, they will change coaches because they may have reached a point with a particular coach where they're just not working well together anymore. And sometimes it helps to then go to another coach that, so they change coaches. So we're not saying that you must stay with the same coach all the time, but they all have a coach. That's the thing. And they will change a coach based on what it is that their needs are at that particular point, and maybe that coach is an expert in a specific area where they need further development in or focus in, and so they will then get involved with that guy. But that's the thing, and that's the thing about the Shift Mindset group is that's a group that coaches, and you can learn from people, and the information that we get exposed to all the time, Quinton, is different every single time. You're being coached by multiple people actually,
which is really sets of information. It's not the same thing or whatever, and it might be things that challenge you a little bit as well, and that but there's also nothing wrong with that. What I wanted to mention also is, and I think I'm trying to figure out, I don't think I said it in the last Facebook Live because I only read it afterwards. I think it was in the last presentation that I did for the Shift Mindset group. And there we were talking about emotions and stuff like that. And there was an example of, and I did a post of this into the group. I just want to make sure that I call it the right thing here now, and I don't, anyway, I've lost it now. I obviously closed it, but it was called, what was it called now? Let me rather just find it here quickly. But it was a study done in 2000. And I want to point this out on how important it is, the people that you hang out with and the people that you speak to and how the people that you relate to. So they did this study where they would show, I don't know, just a random movie or short film. And once so often, they would 30 milliseconds. Now, I don't know if you ever checked 30 milliseconds. It's obviously, it's so quick. You can you notice it, but you don't pick it up consciously. It's a subconscious thing. And so what they did was they flashed these pictures of like happy people. And what they found is it actually influenced the person's emotions. So after 15 minutes of watching or whatever, the person would actually tend to be smiling or happier. But the opposite was also true. When they flashed these pictures, which you cannot pick up on a conscious level, only on a subconscious level, the opposite happened. People tended to get a little bit miffed and irritated and whatever. So what I'm suggesting here is if you can get influenced by something that quickly, obviously it was repeated. So it wasn't just once, it was a repetition throughout the 15, 20 minutes. But the point is don't underestimate the people that you chat to every day and who you speak to and who you phone and whatever, because it can have a massive influence on everything you do. Not just you know, whatever business and stuff like that, but really everything. I'm still trying to find it here. I'm scrolling the hell out of this thing here now.
Well, the thing is that you know, if you want to be positively energized, you're not going to phone somebody who's going to negatively energize you, and that's the thing. And then it's important for you to realize who those people are that you can do that with. And you know,
Yes.
it's, if I can use my daughter as an example, is that when she needs emotional support, she doesn't phone her dad, she phones me. Okay, because she knows she'll get that emotional support from me. You know, her dad, she won't, you know, and I'm not saying that he's without emotion, but you know, he's very much, Dominique, just get yourself, pull yourself together towards yourself. You know, it's like he's very rational about stuff. So when she wants something to rationalize and rationally be able to put something in, and then he's the go-to person for her to go to. That's the rational, that's how it is. There's no emotion in that, you know, that's it. It's cut and dried, and that's how it is. You know, so she knows who the person is she needs to go to, depending on what it is that she needs at a point in time, you know. And there's certain things that I'll tolerate that her dad won't tolerate. So
yeah, so different skill sets. So that I found it here now. It's called mirror neurons.
That's it.
And they actually was speaking about that. But what was interesting about that whole thing was just how much information we're picking up on a subconscious level that we're not even aware of. And that's where the whole mindset and autopilot comes into play, and all those things, because we're picking up stuff that we don't even realize we are. And until you become aware and actually start thinking about stuff, and that's only when you can start. Otherwise, you don't even notice the stuff is happening. So I think, that's sort of, you know, wrap it up there. And that, so do you want to maybe just share one last thing that was the biggest standout for you on this?
Well, the biggest standout for me was really the importance of a mastermind and a group of people that you surround yourself with, that you could plug into, and the importance of that. You know, I'm doing those things naturally without even thinking about it, but there are masterminds that are formal groups that people will pay to get in. Correct. And so so that really got me thinking a little bit differently about it, to say, okay, well, could I go and plug into those kinds of groups that could add value to me very differently? And if I'm wanting to develop a certain skill set at the moment, is there a group of people that I could go and plug into, that I could learn from and benefit from? And you know, so for me, that was just really got me thinking very differently about mastermind and what that is, and the value, because I think we just take it for granted. And especially because I'm in the corporate industry, as I say, I'm just doing that, and so I have the benefit of that already. And suddenly I'm like, okay, well, if you're not exposed to that, so if I think about my husband, you know, he's not exposed to that all the time. So a mastermind could really hugely benefit him, because he then doesn't have to feel like it's him, Pat Malone, and you know, you can go and plug into people that could add value for him. So for me, that was really interesting.
No, that's cool. So I think for my side, very similar thing. I think there's no excuse. So it doesn't have to, there's a lot of ways of doing it. It doesn't have to be a very structured way, although that probably is the better way, but it can be loosely things like a Facebook group, whatever it is, or even audio books that you plug into every day, and you say, I'm going to spend a half an hour with Grant Cardone today, and you literally listen to a book, or Les Brown or whatever. That's still, it's a start. And then obviously, like the Shift Mindset membership group that we've got, that is exactly what this whole group is created for. Come in there, build relationships. You already know that there's people on the same wavelength. You know that they're not going to post pictures of their dinner and the memes, and you know, these guys are serious. They're there to learn and to build their mindset. And I know that it's a small group, and I know there's like yourself and a few other people that are already in that group that I know would gladly comment and help if they could help and stuff like that. And that's a pretty cool thing. I've seen it in that one group of ours, the other group, the Think Success group and whatever, it's a free group. And that group there's the guy, his name is Jason. I don't know the ape from a bar of soap, but he's always commenting and we're engaging and messaging, and that I feel like I know the guy. I've never met him.
Yes, yes, exactly.
And we're always bouncing things and stuff like that. So there is really value in that. And that's why Facebook is so successful. Facebook is just building connections. The problem is a lot of the connections aren't real and stuff, but there's always a flip side. There is the good side and there's always the bad side. The good side is the shift membership, those kind of groups where it's serious and the guys are real, and it's, you know, you can definitely build up connections with people and stuff there on a proper real level, if it makes sense. Yeah. Cool. So thank you very much. We ran away with it tonight again, but thank you very much. It was an interesting topic, I think, on that, and I appreciate also your perspective once again. It was really awesome. So we will see everybody. If you're watching this, we will see. If you are watching this on Juanita's page, give us a like there. If you're watching on my page, give it a like. If you found some value out of this, share it so that somebody else can get some value out of it. If you don't agree with things, I'd love to know that as well, because it doesn't mean that you always have to agree. You can disagree, and we can, maybe you got a different perspective on things, which would be also great. Awesome. Thanks, guys. Chat to you next week. Cheers.
Bye-bye.